Hey, sixth graders, so here's what I'm hoping that you've done so far. I'm hoping that in the last section of this form, you were able to try this little experiment, that you were able to maybe find a tube or a straw and a little tiny piece of paper, and that you were able to try to blow through that straw to suspend or to make that little piece of paper float in the air. I hope you were able to do that. It's kind of a fun little trick to do. And then what I asked you to do is to make some observations, right? To look at this ping pong ball that we've put on this scale, and the scale's reading 40 ounces, which is the unit of measurement. And then here's some tissue paper, the scale's reading 20 ounces. And then the next set of things I wanted you to observe was a person blowing air through a straw. And that person blowing the air was pushing against the scale, and it gave a reading of 20 ounces. And then someone took a blow dryer and they turned it on and pointed it right at the scale. And that showed a reading of 53.5 ounces. What I wanted you to do then was kind of to make a claim and provide some evidence about whether or not we'd be able to suspend the ping pong ball using either one of those devices, using a straw or using a blow dryer. And I'll be interested to read your responses when you guys are finished. But let's explain what's happening now a little bit. So we're going to watch this video very quickly. All right, so here's this guy, right? He took the blow dryer and a ping pong ball, and he was able to suspend the ping pong ball in the air using that blow dryer. And let's talk about the science behind that. What's happening to allow that to happen? Because that is going to be very important when we talk about clouds and hail. So what's happening? Well, there's something called an updraft force that's being created by the blow dryer. Basically, the blow dryer is pushing upwards. It's pushing all that air upwards. And that upward force is stronger than the weight of the ball or the balloon. So that upward force is pushing them stronger than their weight is trying to pull them back down to earth. And that allows them to float in the air like that. So what does this have to do with clouds, right? How clouds form? Well, we know that when clouds form, the solar radiation, the solar energy comes down, heats up the ground. That ground then releases that energy and it heats up the air and some water vapor. That warm air creates an updraft force. It is pushing things upwards. So it's creating this pushing upwards effect. It's invisible to us, but it's creating that upward draft force. And that upward draft force are going to keep objects that weigh less than the force exerts up in the atmosphere. So just like that ping pong ball was able to be suspended or float over the blow dryer, these dust particles or ice particles or hail pieces in clouds stay up in the atmosphere for as long as that upward force, that warm air, is pushing them up and holding them up. As long as they weigh less than that force exerts, then they're going to stay floating. Once they weigh more than that force, they're going to end up falling down to the earth. All right, so what I would like you to do now is I'd like you to, once you finish this, to go back to Schoology and to open up the Updraft assignment. And that assignment is going to have you look at a data table and try to determine whether or not pieces of hail are going to stay floating in the atmosphere, in the troposphere, or if they're going to come falling down to earth. So that's the rest of your assignment for today.